Ciao ragazzi! Welcome to the Bella Sun Luci test kitchen. I'm Chef Richie, and today we're going to cook Chef Deborah Biggs' recipe contest entry, which is pulled pork Mediterranean style on a biscuit. Let's get going. Earlier, we seasoned this with a dry rub, a Mediterranean style one. I used cinnamon, nutmeg, prime rib rub, so it's Italo-Californiano. It's Italian and Californian. It's more Mediterranean in its makeup because it's got paprika and less of the traditional spices that you use when you do a southern rub. Like I didn't use cumin. I used Italian herbs instead. And there is some sugar and a little bit of water. Helped everything come together. So you can use pork tenderloin like in the recipe, but I recommend the pork shoulder because it becomes pulled pork and comes apart and is much more tender after the 5 to 6 hours of cooking. And be prepared to cook a lot more because it comes in bigger pieces. All right, so after I had cooked this for 4 to 5 hours, what I did was I added the ingredients that were supposed to go in the beginning. In the beginning, the recipe calls for Kalamata olives, our sun-dried tomato pesto, some of the liquid, some of the oil, and a few other spices. Those all went in after the meat had already cooked for 4 or 5 hours because I didn't want the olives and the sun-dried tomatoes, including a jar of our Bella Sun Luci julienne. I didn't want those ingredients to disintegrate, so you'll still have the integrity of those flavorings along with everything else through the slow and long cooking process. And now we are going to turn the oven up to the 425 degrees we need to make our biscuits. When you bake, you want to mix your wet ingredients separately first. So we'll do that. We're using Greek yogurt today instead of the kefir that's in the recipe. It's just a personal choice. Touch of water. And some of our Bella Sun Luci sun-dried tomato bruschetta. This is all going to be part of the dough for the biscuits. Now we're going to mix our dry ingredients, and those are flour, which already has the baking soda and the baking powder in it. Parmesan, again, more Italian flavor. A touch of salt. Some chopped fresh basil leaves. I'm gonna mix all that up with my pastry cutter just to get equal distribution. And then I'm gonna add my butter and cut it in. The butter has been in the freezer for a few minutes. Working with cold butter for biscuits is the only way to go. There are the small pieces of butter that are the size of small peas. And now we're going to mix in the wet ingredients to make our dough. The Greek yogurt and sun-dried tomato bruschetta, which also has Italian herbs and extra virgin olive oil. Mixing the wet into the dry. I have a little extra water because this dough is looking really dry to me. And I like a little bit of a wetter biscuit dough. So I've added just a touch. Let's take this over to the other cutting board and roll it out. So we're going to broadcast a little bit of flour here. Get our board ready for our dough. And we do want to knead it. And to knead dough, I always tell people to push it into itself. For some reason, some people have a tendency to want to pull it apart as kneading. Just a touch more flour. We're not actually going to roll it out. We're going to press it out. And then we'll do that last fold, hoping that we get some kind of pull apart ability. And here we go. Let's cut them. Ready? We have our biscuits done. We're now going to put the sheet pan onto the top rack of the oven. Because on the bottom rack where the heating element is, they'll burn. And now we're going to set a timer for 12 minutes. So while I have them here and they're hot, let's brush them with our reserved oil from the sun-dried tomatoes. Give them a little red sheen. We are now going to pull the pork over here. Trying to use 2 forks to pull this pork in the sauce is going to be too messy. So I'm going to pull it out of its sauce. I'm going to put it onto my cutting board. Before I use the 2 forks to pull it apart, like Chef Deborah says in her recipe, I'm going to cut this into a few pieces. That way also, I can get rid of any excess fat that I want to, like that, a little bit. So, using the 2 fork method, see it's starting to shred apart. This is going to be a great sandwich, I can't wait. Let's get some of the sauce. Let's mix that up nicely. And you see, we still have pieces of the sun-dried tomato julienne. So that looks like a good amount. Then we'll put the meat in. We're going to take the tallest one here. We're going to see if it breaks in half all by itself, which it does. Wonderful. Okay. And now I'm going to spoon some meat on top. Okay. And I think you're going to want to eat this sandwich with a fork and a knife. But using your fingers is always okay with me. We're going to drizzle our balsamic vinegar glaze. We're going to sprinkle some feta on top. Nice. And some of our torn basil leaves as garnish. And then we'll add the top to the top. And there you have Chef Deborah Biggs pulled pork biscuit sandwich, Mediterranean style. Buon appetito. Please get your recipes into our recipe contest at bellasunluci.com. Arrivederci ragazzi.